Hi everybody, welcome back to the final lesson of Season 2's This Is How We Grow Personal Growth group. I am Dr. Christina Hibbert and I'm so grateful to finally be bringing this lesson to you. I know that it's been a long time coming, and as we've seen in past seasons, I always start with great intentions and then life kicks in. But one thing I love about this group is how understanding everybody is, because guess what? You all have life happening too. And I'm just grateful to be able to wrap it up on such a positive note today as we talk about the final ingredient to this idea of fulfilling our life's purpose and mission and living a life of meaning and purpose. And that is to live with love. And we've talked about this, we've kind of touched on this throughout all of these lessons. And I actually had a few people after the first lesson, when I mentioned that everybody's purpose ultimately has to do with love, a couple of people messaged me or emailed me and said, what do you mean by that? What do you mean that everybody's purpose has to do with love? And I said, hang tight, we'll get to it. And here we are today finally explaining it. I know we've kind of dropped hints of it, but to me this is the perfect way to wrap up this season and this topic. Before we get into our lesson, I just want to tell you about Season 3. Now, because life has become so full and because life keeps happening, I don't know why that is so, but for whatever reason, as you know, life just keeps happening. Because life keeps happening, and because I recently started a new endeavor, which is Motherhood Radio. And you can find weekly episodes of Motherhood Radio on webtalkradio.net or also on iTunes. If you look up Dr. Christina Hibbert or look up Motherhood Radio, you'll find all of the podcasts there that you can download and listen to anytime. And this has been a really fun endeavor for me, a great way for me to get to meet so many interesting guests and people doing some amazing work, and also just really very interesting people, mothers and fathers and those who are just trying to make a difference, who are out there fulfilling their life's mission and purpose. And to bring that to you in a very simple 1 hour long block of time where you can listen on demand. You can listen whenever you like to. You can download it, and I like to listen while I'm driving or while I'm cleaning. And so because of this exciting opportunity that I have now to get to talk with and reach so many people and get to know so many people, I'm not going to have as much time to do these lessons. So next season, Season 3, we are going to continue. But we'll have a fewer lessons, and what I'm thinking we're going to do is we're going to do more live events, which means that when I record the lesson like I'm doing right now, I will be doing so live on Google Hangouts, and you'll get to, if you'd like to, join me live, and that way I can present the lesson and also answer some questions. So we'll be doing those every couple of months, and I hope you'll join us. So stick with me on the subscription list for this group, and on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, on Pinterest and Instagram. You can find me all over the place, Dr. Christina Hibbert, or on Instagram, Dr. Christy_Hibbert. And also on my YouTube channel, of course, be watching for these events to come up and for more videos like these. In the meantime, I hope you'll also visit my website at drchristinahibbert.com for more on all of these things that we're talking about. And I do have some wonderful articles on love and how to let love in and how to love more. And we'll be talking about a lot of that today. So let's just jump right in. And I know that I shared some of this quote in Season 1, but I figure it's been a year, so I can share it again. So for those of you who it hasn't been a year for, I'm sorry you have to hear it again, but hopefully it's helpful. Because to me, this is kind of my take on what I mean by love is part of our divine mission and purpose, and not even part of it, but why I can say definitely that for each one of us, ultimately our purpose and our mission is about love. And this is part of why. So as I say, and this is how we grow, this is page 415. At its core, love is really about growth. Growth of our spirit and mind and heart. Growth, both body and soul. Growth is really about love. When hard times come our way, we can go through them, or we can choose to grow through them. And when we choose to grow, we do so out of love. When we help others grow, we reach our most loving potential. Now think about it. First of all, what I've just said, that personal growth is really about love. if you didn't love yourself, love your family, love the world, love God, love whatever, you wouldn't care about improving yourself, would you? You would just keep on with the same old habits and patterns, and you wouldn't be watching this video, and you wouldn't be joining this group, and you wouldn't read books and listen to talks and do all that you do to try to help yourself grow and improve. But it's because you love that you choose to grow. And growth and love, to me, are one and the same. And they happen, they happen simultaneously. And also, when we help others grow, we reach our most loving potential. And isn't that what your life's mission and purpose and calling is all about? Really, it's about helping others grow. It's about taking what you love and bringing it to the world in a way that helps others. Everybody says that. You can put it however you want. I want to leave behind a legacy of, a legacy. I want to love others better. I want to share my talents with the world. I want to help people. I want to make a difference, right? That's what our mission and meaning and purpose in our life is all about. It's about helping others grow. And when we do that, we also grow. It kind of, again, you can't kind of isolate the two. It's not like we can help others without growing ourselves a little bit. And it also helps us reach our most loving potential. And this happens through our purpose and mission. So to continue on page 415, my favorite definition of love explains what I mean. This is the quote: "I define love thus: the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth." Now, this is the definition of love by M. Scott Peck from The Road Less Traveled. We're going to use a little bit of that later. But to me, this is my favorite definition. I've read a lot of definitions of love, but to me, this is my favorite because this is exactly how I feel about love and why I'm sharing this as a final topic for this season of our group. Again, I define love thus: the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. So what I like about this is that he, first of all, says it's the will, because we have to choose to love. A lot of times we don't feel like loving. In fact, he says in The Road Less Traveled, he talks about how, actually a lot of love is born of the times that we don't feel like loving. You don't feel that way, but you do it anyway. And that is true love, because you don't necessarily have to feel loving to be a loving person or to do something loving, right? So that's what he's saying. So it's our will. We make a choice to love, and we do it. We extend ourselves. We work. We have to put forth effort. We have to do something, and that's love. And it's because we care about our own or somebody else's growth, their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual growth. And I just love that. And so to wrap up, it says, as we nurture and love our family, neighbors, world, and self, we grow together in love. And to me, if we're talking about our mission and purpose, that's what it is. It's when we nurture and love our family, neighbors, world, and self. That's what, when we're living our calling and fulfilling that calling and purpose in life, that's basically what we're doing, don't you think? We are nurturing and loving others. And that's what fulfilling our calling is all about. So that's why I can say that, from my perspective and my experience, all of our purposes, all of our life missions and callings in life, they all come back to this one principle of love. And the question becomes, but how do we love more fully? And how do we develop that love? And even understanding this, what does that really mean? Now, to me, there's two ways we can look at it. Number one is what we've been doing all along. This whole season, we've had all these lessons. I believe we've had 7 up to this point, right? And they've all been about, little steps of areas you can focus on to try to, first of all, understand what your mission might be in life, to understand what you feel is meaningful and purposeful in your life. And, we talked about how to write a mission statement once you start to understand that, to kind of guide you in trying to figure that out and trying to fulfill that. And then we've talked about, some ways that you can live with vision and some ways that you can execute that vision, and how you can really, last time we talked about kind of synthesizing it all and understanding, really finally trying to understand your purpose after you work through all these things. And these are all great tools, because in helping you understand these things and helping you understand your specific unique contribution to the world, why you're here, the big why am I here question, answer to that for you personally, in understanding that you are growing in love because you're loving yourself by taking the time to do all this work, and you're loving others by looking for ways to take the things you love and make a difference in the world. I'm sure some of you out there have had lots of experiences with this as you've worked on this in your life, where maybe you love something that you feel doesn't really naturally lend itself to being of much service to other people. Like, I think of people who are just really funny. And I've had several friends in my life who are really funny, and that's one of their talents. And they kind of struggle with it because they think, well, it's not as serious as like what I do, that one of my talents is that I can do, be a psychologist and help people in that way. So they think, well, because it's not serious, or because it doesn't seem like it's, helping in that way, then it's not a contribution. But as we know, we all need humor. And so you can look for ways to bring humor to the world. It's only when you share it, though, that it becomes a mission and a calling, Before that, it's just something you like to do. So I might like to dance, but I don't teach dance and I don't go out and share that with the world. So to me, it's not part of my life's mission and calling. But at one point it was, when I became an aerobics instructor, and it was sort of my way of taking dance and using it to not only make a living, but also to help people and to help people get in shape and help them be excited about fitness. And, so at that time in my life it was, and now it's not. Yet I have a very wonderful friend who is a marvelous dance instructor, and she has a dance studio that she runs out of her home with 3 little kids. And she, my daughters take dance from her, and she puts on these incredible recitals and performances, and that is truly her gift. So she's using her gift and the things she loves to help and serve others. And let me just tell you, it doesn't matter if you make money off it or not. I think some people think, well, because I make money on it, I am not being charitable. And I think I used to feel that way about being a psychologist. I used to feel like, well, if I charge what I feel like I'm worth, then I feel like I'm a bad person because I'm not just helping out for the need to help. Well, that I did that for a while. I undercharged, and I had a really low sliding scale, and eventually it wore me out. And it didn't mean that I was a bad person when I finally started charging what I feel is fair, and that I set my time the way it needs to be and not be on demand for everybody. So even if you have boundaries for what you do and how you help, and even if you make money off of it, it doesn't mean that you're not fulfilling your life's mission and purpose. And on the flip side, even if you don't make money off of it, even if you just do it because you love it. And I have so many friends who love, let's say, art, or a friend who loved horseback riding, and they would teach kids art or horseback riding at the schools or after school, and they wouldn't charge for it because they just loved it and they were doing it anyway with their kids. So why not teach other kids? And so there's a lot of ways that we can fulfill this, but we need to remember there's no one right way. And you can make a living and still be filling your purpose, and then there's going to be some things in your life that you probably won't make any living off of it, but you'll do it because you have a passion. I started a nonprofit organization, the Arizona Postpartum Wellness Coalition, several years ago, over 10 years ago. And my husband it drove him crazy because I'd spend hours working on this, and I wasn't getting any money. In fact, we're a nonprofit, and nobody got paid. It was all volunteers. It still is 10 years later. And but you do it because you love it. You don't do it because you're looking for making a living. And then there's other things where, like psychology and like being an author, where I do try to make a little bit of a living being an author, I would say. That's where I can make my living, and then I can do other things like this group because I just love it. And that's what we're talking about. And again, it goes back to love. We love others, so when we take what we love personally, what we love to do, what we enjoy, what lights us up, and when we bring it to others, that is fulfilling your mission and calling and purpose. And that is why I say all of our callings, all of our life missions have to ultimately do with love. You with me? Now let me read a little bit. I'm going to share a little bit of the ideas from The Road Less Traveled. So I remember this book. Gosh, this book is falling apart. I think this was my mom's copy. And I remember my mom reading this. I think I was in, gosh, I was in high school, but this was in 1978. So this has been around a really long time. I knew it had been around a long time, but I didn't know exactly how long. I remember my mom reading it. I remember it was kind of a big thing back then. And I kind of thought, oh, that's like a grown-up old person book or whatever. So I actually didn't pick it up until a few years back. And when I did, I love this book. And to me, this is just, it really is such a beautiful description of love in all its forms. So if you haven't read The Road Less Traveled and you would like to learn more about love, this is a really great book. Very deep, lots to learn. But let me just share a little bit. So obviously, as I said, that definition of love, I shared in my book, comes from here. And you know, also M. Scott Peck, who wrote this book, he talks about how ultimately love is part of discipline and discipline is part of love, and they kind of go back and forth. And if I can find my whole thing here. Okay, let's see. So he talks about how when we're trying to meet the problems of life and the challenges, we need discipline in that, okay? So he talks about, let's just quote a little bit here. He says, "It is in this whole process of meeting and solving problems that life has its meaning." So we're looking for meaning and purpose, and yet he's saying that perhaps the meaning in life is when we feel able to handle life's challenges and the problems and the situations that come and to overcome them. And then I would add to that, that definitely brings meaning and purpose to my life. And I know we all feel good when we feel like, man, I handled that really well, and you know, I took a creative solution to that and it worked really well. But I would add to that, to take it a step further, that when we then take those things to the world and help the world solve their problems in the same way, or show them what we did, or teach in that way, that's part of fulfilling our life mission. He goes on to say, as Benjamin Franklin said, those things that hurt instruct. Isn't that true? I know you know that I have had many hurts in my life, and I can say this all the time, and I can say it truthfully, that I would not be here doing this right now had I not been through many of the hurts I've been through. And it does give us the kind of instruction you can't get anywhere else. He says, it is for this reason that wise people learn not to dread, but actually to welcome problems, and actually to welcome the pain of problems. Okay, so that's one thing you can think about if you're struggling with this whole theme this year, if you're still not sure what you're here for. You know, as I've said before, it can take time. And if you're going through some life challenges that are really hard right now, which we all do, it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to have your hard time, but learn your lessons. The hurt is there to instruct us. He goes on to talk later about discipline and how discipline can help us. And discipline can help us through our life challenges, and also as we are trying to flourish, as we are trying to do what we're talking about today with our life's purpose. He says, discipline, it has been suggested, is the means of human spiritual evolution. Do you agree with that? Is discipline the means of human spiritual evolution? I think that sounds pretty true to me. I mean, we have to be disciplined in order to evolve, right? In order to grow. You have to discipline yourself to watch this video, to do the assignments, to work on the things in your life, to do whatever else you're doing in your life to help yourself through your challenges and help yourself to grow in order to evolve, correct? So discipline's important, he says. So let's examine what lies at the back of discipline. What provides the motive, the energy for discipline? What do you think? What do you think provides the motive or the energy for discipline? I really hadn't thought about it before. But he says, this force I believe to be love. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? That love is why we discipline ourselves. Love is why we discipline our families and our children, and why we are self-disciplined in helping ourselves grow, and why we have to discipline ourselves when we want to fulfill our life's mission and calling. It's not simple. It's not like we go, oh, my life's purpose is to teach singing, and then we just sit around and wait for the opportunity to come. No, we have to learn and get ready and prepare and work hard, don't we? And he also talks about how love is work. And he says the opposite of love is laziness. What do you think about that? I think that's pretty brilliant. The opposite of love is laziness. So if you're not able to get up and make yourself do something, you probably don't love the thing that you're trying to do it for, or you haven't found that love yet. And that's true. When I'm lazy, I am not loving myself or my family. I am just tuning out. I am being lazy. I'm not doing anything loving. Love requires discipline. So again, that definition that he has is that love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. And to add to that, he describes love is a strangely circular process. And if you think about it, when you really work on loving, you eventually get to where you kind of, basically you reach your limits, as he says. But then we have to grow bigger and have more love, you know? I think parents can really relate to this. We reach our limits with our kids, we get to the point where they're driving us crazy and we just have nothing else to give, and so we hopefully like put them in timeout, or we go take a timeout, and then we have to, you know, take that breather or that break or whatever it needs and go back to it and try to grow bigger in love and patience, right? He says the act of loving is an act of self-evolution. Even when the purpose of the act is someone else's growth, it is through reaching toward evolution that we evolve. And that's what you're here for. You want to evolve, you want to grow. So in reaching for that personal growth, that evolution, that's where you obtain it. And that's what love is. Love is an act of self-evolution. When we love, we grow. And when we grow, we love. Again, that's what I was just talking about earlier when I was quoting from This Is How We Grow. Third, love includes self-love with love for the other. Now remember, we touched on this in the lesson when we talked about self-love a couple months ago. And how self-love really is not the opposite of other love, and in fact, it must involve not only loving others, but letting love in. He says we cannot forsake self-discipline and at the same time be disciplined in our care for another. We cannot be a source of strength unless we nurture our own strength. Self-love and love of others go hand in hand, but that ultimately they are indistinguishable. So he believes that self-love and other love are basically the same thing, and I think that's true. As he's saying, when we don't love ourselves, we don't have much to give, and when we don't love other people, we're not loving ourselves. It has to be that cyclical experience of giving, receiving love continually. And fourth, love is not effortless. To the contrary, love is effortful, and that goes along with what I was just saying, that love, not loving is the opposite, or love is the opposite of laziness. And when we're lazy, we're really not loving. Love requires effort. And finally, he says love is an act of will. And again, that was in that definition he said. It's an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. So we can intend to love, and that's good. We want to intend to love. We need that. But then we also have to have the action of loving to make that love complete, sort of. He says will also implies choice. We do not have to love. We choose to love. No matter how much we may think we are loving, if we are in fact not loving, it is because we have chosen not to love, and therefore do not love despite our good intentions. So again, we might have the intention to love, but then we don't do the follow through, the action, and so we're actually choosing not to love. On the other hand, whenever we do actually exert ourselves in the cause of spiritual growth, it is because we have chosen to do so. The choice to love has been made. Now, what does all this mean for you as we wrap up this season? The choice to love has been made. As I was saying, there are two ways we can approach this. One is how we've done it all season long. And today I want to present a second way. That as we choose to love, and we make that choice to love, and to work on loving, to work on our loving intentions and actions, to recognize that laziness is the opposite, and to put ourselves to work with loving, that our mission and purpose will unfold before us. And that might look different every day. And you might see over time how it's all connected, but sometimes it's not so clear. For instance, today, as I focused on loving, I felt inspired to go to my daughter's school. She's been having a hard time with an issue, and I went there not to complain, but to say, this is an issue that's been going on, and here's what I hope to do to help you through it. Here's my solution, and here's what I have to offer to help. that's part of my ultimate mission. If you think about it, my ultimate mission to love my family and to help and serve other people and to, you know, overcome, become, and flourish is just being directed in a very specific way toward my daughter's school. But also it's hopefully, it helps me to understand more of my purpose. It's actually made me think more lately about my children and their needs, and it's making me want to write more about how parents can help their children in specific types of situations that I'm having to go through. So it's interesting that as we go about loving and just doing what needs to be done in this moment, what needs to be done today, getting up off the couch when we don't feel like it because our child needs us, or calling that friend even if we don't think, you know, we feel like it or we're tired, calling that friend because we know that something has told us that they need us, and we need to listen to that. We need to listen again to those whispers, as I've said in This Is How We Grow. Obey the whispers, because they're what tells us how to love. And as we do that, we grow in love, and as we grow in love, our purpose and mission unfolds. So love is ultimately our purpose. So if we can start it from the other side. If we go with a deeper meaning of our purpose, that is to show and give and offer love in the world to ourselves and to others and to God or higher power, however you want to say that. As we do that, as we complete that cycle, we can begin to see our purpose unfold. And on the flip side, as we work on trying to see and uncover our purpose, we find that ultimately it has to do with love. And I hope that you will take the challenge to look for the ways that you can love in this world. To, as I say, love greatly. I think I want to write a book on that, because I think it is, I know it's the key to everything. Love is all, you know, all these songs have been written about it throughout the generations, and love is all we need, right? Well, it's true, but it's not the feeling of love as much as the action and the intentions of love that we need, and that's definitely what we need for our own growth. So to conclude, I'm going to wrap up with the end of this quote on page 415 of This Is How We Grow. We need each other. Now think about that. We need each other. Whatever you have to offer, somebody needs it. And I'm looking right at you. Whatever you have to offer, somebody needs that. We can't afford to not move forward in fulfilling our life's calling and purpose. We need to work on this. It's worth it. We need each other. We can only grow as high as our roots go deep. And our roots are our family, faith, our friends. Our roots are made of love. Again, that underlying factor is love, without which we would topple at the first sign of wind. But loved, we are strong and able to withstand anything. Love comes from God and nature and light and fills us if we let it, like a well that never runs dry. As we receive this love, we become so full of love, it pours out of our eyes and our mouth and our arms, filling those around us too. Love cannot be kept, but must be given and received again, a continuous cycle that, when complete, generates greater and higher love. Yes, choosing to grow is choosing love. That's what I hope you'll remember, that as we become full of love, we can't help it. We will have to share it with the world. You will feel compelled. You will have that passion that we're talking about. You will know what you need to do, and then it's up to us to choose to do it, to choose to love, to choose to grow. I hope you will take these words and ponder them and try to apply them in your life. That is your assignment. Nothing written, nothing extra, but if you'd like to write about this, to ponder it, to figure out how love works in your life and how to get to that place where you are actively working on your loving intentions and your loving actions and utilizing them in your divine purpose, that would be fabulous. And I hope that you all will take that challenge to do so. So until next season, season 3, which actually will be starting in just a few weeks, I hope you will overcome, become, and flourish in your life. Wherever you are is right where you're meant to be. You're in the season that you're meant to be in, and it's okay to be there for a while and to be in whatever season you're in, because the seasons change, and so do we if we choose to grow. And I hope you'll join me back here for This Is How We Grow Personal Growth Group again for season 3. And in the meantime, visit my website, drchristinahibbert.com. There are links there to everything I discussed today, as well as the articles on love. You can look up, just type in, search love, and you'll find all kinds of articles and resources that can help you for whatever your particular challenges may be when it comes to loving. And also a link to my new radio show, Motherhood Radio. Again, that's on webtalkradio.net every Monday, new episode, and on iTunes. You can download episodes there. And of course, my books, This Is How We Grow and Who Am I Without You? There are links through my website as well as to my YouTube channel where all these videos are. And finally, my newest book, which is called 8 Keys to Mental Health Through Exercise, is already available for pre-order on Amazon.com and will be released in about April of 2016. So it's coming soon, and I hope you will check that out as well. And we'll be using some of that for next season as well. And I'm excited to announce the topic in our first lesson coming up soon. Everybody take care, and I hope you will choose to love and choose to grow. It really is the best way to be. Bye-bye, everybody.